What's up, everyone? My name is Jacob. I am a recovered alcoholic. It's always weird to hear a lot of nice words about yourself. I'm still getting used to that, and I was trying not to look at the amount of people, so it's like so cool though seeing all the newcomers. Like that is awesome. Like if this is your first meeting or you're in your first day, hour, week, like welcome. Like so glad you guys can make it on, and I really hope I can shed give you guys some encouragement, some hope, some strength. Now, you might have noticed that I introduced myself as a recovered alcoholic. That means that I have recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. It doesn't mean that I can drink successfully whatsoever. My experience shows me that time and time again. And a little qualification here, my sobriety date's November 24th, 2020. I have a sponsor that knows I'm his sponsee, and I'm, still a couple years in. I still check in with him regularly. I've been through the 12 steps as it's outlined through the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, and have the honor and privilege of sponsoring other men in this program. I'm also a part of the Treasure Coast host committee for FCYPAA. That's the Florida Conference of Young People of Alcoholics Anonymous. We have our conference here in the Treasure Coast on the September 19th, 2025. It's going to be really cool. I can give you guys any more information about that after the meeting. But without further ado, I'll go over a little bit of what it was like, what it's like, or what happened, what it's like today, right? And that's what the book tells us what to do when we share our experience. So something that I always start with, and it's like funny, like I grew up in a like painstakingly average middle class household. And the reason why I say that is like there wasn't really any great trauma that I can go to a therapist or I can go to someone at the bar and say, when I drink and I use because this, that, and the third happened. No, like I drank and I used because I liked the effect that was produced by alcohol and other substances. Like straight up and simple, and it's like once any of those substances were introduced to my body, like I had this physical allergy that like once I have one, like I need more. So like even in the beginning, like the first time that I was like drinking, like I drank alcoholically. Like I was a kid, I remember very clearly like going to it was like the homecoming game with my brother, like freshman year of high school, hitting the bottle, going to the keg afterwards, and just like going to the keg party afterwards, and like thinking that I could do this for the rest of my life. And like I ended up passed out in the ditch. That was my first couple of experiences with drinking, and my first introduction to Alcoholics Anonymous. I was like 15 years old. Granted, like my parents, I grew up with sober parents going to meetings and such. So I was like one of those kids, if you go to an in-person meeting, I was probably one of those little kids like running around, right? But I never really knew what it meant to be an alcoholic or like what Alcoholics Anonymous was in my first introduction. I looked around and I know it's like very easy just to hear the consequences, right? Like I just heard like, oh, they're on their third DUI or they lost the house, they lost the kids. I was like, I'm not like them because none of that stuff happened. I'm a 15-year-old kid. Like I don't have, I was never married, no girlfriend. Like I didn't have a car to get a DUI with or a driver's license, so I didn't really like identify with how they drink. And I was already drinking alcoholically, like from the jump, right? Um, and then throughout high school, like self knowledge told me that I could not drink successfully. Like I knew I could not drink like other people drink because I ended up throwing up everywhere and passing out in a ditch. So I just kind of went to other goods, like other stuff, other favor or party favors, that had the same effect. But I could still end up passed out in a ditch, but I wasn't in my own throw up. Somehow made it through high school, and I found myself in drug court again, like a year after high school. This time as a felon and as an adult, so like much more serious consequences. And it was it was there that I started to identify a little bit, right? Like my ears, like I was a little bit older, a little bit wiser, but I still was like, I'm not ready for this, But I had like I was thinking back on it earlier. I was in a meeting where like at 20 years old, I was like, man, I should go to these meetings, but like my story's not good enough yet, right? Like how much ego, like I was like thinking is like if anything's a telltale sign of being an alcoholic, it's that like trying to one up somebody, right? And over the next couple of years, that it's just like a rinse, wash, repeat cycle of partying, finding some sort of get rich quick scheme, making, quick money, spending it just as quick. It wasn't until my later years, like, that I started drinking daily. God gave me the story that I wanted, the better story. And as most stories start, I met this girl. I thought I met the love of my life. She thought she met an easy rebound. We were both wrong. And that just started a whole whirlwind of craziness. She came down to Florida like a lot of people do for treatment. She got over her DOC, but then kind of just like replaced it with drinking. And I'm really good at that too. If I can't get what I want, I'll just replace it. If I can't find the booze, if I can't find whatever party favor I want, like I'll find something because I'm restless, irritable, and discontent unless I find some sort of like ease and comfort, right? And so I started seeing this girl, and like one day she was supposed to come over, but then she bailed on me, and I had a 12-pack of Yingling, and I was like, well, if this solves all her problems, maybe it'll solve all my problems. And that's when daily drinking starts. Because like leading up to this, it was just like a weekend warrior type deal. Now it's just like, first it starts off with one tall boy, it was a long day at work, and then it was a 4 rack because it was a Thursday and it's Friday Eve. And then it's two 4 racks because it's Tuesday and it was, a good day at work or whatever. And then I'm at this point where I'm drinking like 2 to 3 4 racks of like Natty Ice, Bush Light, like the cheap stuff, because I'm balling on a budget. And I'm like, man, only an alcoholic would drink like this. So I started drinking twisted tea because I like the taste of Arnold Palmer. And I'll let you guys in on a little secret here. Never bought Arnold Palmer a day in my life to just sip on at home, right? And but that's just the insanity of it, right? Like I'm sure, like if you can relate to justifying your drinking or whatever it is that you do, welcome. I'm right there with you. I can, I'm guilty of that. So that goes on for the better part of a year, year and a half. And then I never had my own prescription for medications. I didn't know you were supposed to read the bottle and not drink. I thought the prescription you're supposed to drink on it. Well, this combination landed me in the hospital, and it was in that experience that the next girl that I was dating or at the time, we were like, all right, we got to quit. Like you should quit drinking. I was like, yeah, this is bad. So I started replacing it with XYZ. Problem is that's not giving me the ease and comfort that I once found by taking a couple drinks. And I'm getting in a really dark place. Like, really, it was like a 2 or 3 month period, and it just like it was like my just everything just started deteriorating so quick. My relationships, I'm on edge all the time, starting arguments, starting fights, going out with my brothers, and like they're having a sip, and I'm just like hounding down their drinks, right? Like I'm looking at the perspiration of the drinks and just like not able to enjoy myself. Like I'm crawling out of my skin, and it's just unbearable. And like I've experienced this a few times where like if I'm not drinking or doing whatever, like it's still all I can think about, and that's a miserable existence. And then it was also starting to get to a point. It's like, well, what is my life with drinking? I'm working a dead end call center job, no prospects for the future. I'm blacking out every night watching the same Netflix show. I'm not even having fun. Um, and without drinking, I'm a miserable prick. And it's just not, it was just not a good experience, good existence. It wasn't even really a life. It was like I'd call it, just merely existing, and it drove me to a very dark place. And it all kind of came to one day. My ex like wasn't respond, or my girlfriend at the time didn't respond to a text. Like I had just had this procedure done. The doctor gave me certain medications that what I was supposed to take as needed, and I saw that I needed to take the whole prescription in like a day, day and a half. I lied about it. I revealed the lie, and she calls me, she's crying, and I was just like, man, I did it again. Like my whole life, it's just a repeating theme of Jacob doing what he wants to do, getting high, getting drunk, and hurting those around him. Like, how can I say that I love these people if my actions don't reflect it, right? And coupled with the thought of like, what is my life? With drinking, without drinking, I was kind of just ready to end it all. I didn't really see where I was going with it all. And it was in that thought and in that argument where I decided I kind of had like I came to a turning point, right? Or a crossroads where it's like, I can either just go ahead, end it, or I can get help. And I wanted to get help just a little bit more than I wanted to end it, right? And it was in that moment that I said my first genuine prayer in a very long time. And it was just as simple as like, God, help me out, dude. I can't keep doing this. And I texted my dad the next morning, or it was like 3 o'clock in the morning, and he showed up at my house bright and early, 7 o'clock. And we went to this state facility that's in our area. Where I was with the substances didn't really qualify for a detox or anything at that point. Like I already kind of weaned myself off anything that needed a detox. Um, but I was like where I was at mentally, they said I could stay, but most people that go to that facility don't choose to go to that facility. And I took like one look around, I couldn't smoke cigarettes. So I was like, all right, like I'll sign up for your outpatient. So I got hooked up with their outpatient, and I kind of did like home treatment with my dad. He's still at this point years sober, has been in the treatment industry for a few years as a therapist. And he starts taking me around to AA meetings, introducing me to people. Like I try to sit in the back, and, it's just like, no, winner sit in the front, having me sit in the front, kind of like showing me the way. I got a sponsor right away. And in the beginning, part of like the unmanageability, I didn't couldn't manage a car. I had like all flat tires, and this was also during the day of COVID. So there were Zoom meetings like this. It's been a while since I've been on a Zoom meeting, so it's kind of cool to like go back to my roots. I've never gotten the honor or privilege to speak on one, so this is like really cool and brings me back. Um, but yeah, so like in the beginning, I just had it talks about and how it works, like willing to go to any lengths, right? And I also kind of like tied that in with like in my recovery and my sobriety, I have to tie everything that I would to like drink or use or whatever the case may be. I have to put that same amount of effort into my recovery. So like every day I was walking like 1 to 2, there was like a mile and a half, almost 2 miles to the closest meeting hall, waking up at like 7, or like it was like 6:30 for a 7 o'clock Zoom meeting. Walking every day to the meeting hall, calling my sponsor every day, like meeting other guys, getting uncomfortable in my skin, and like learning what it is, like what recovery actually is. Um, and through all that experience, like, yeah, I got a sponsor right away, started working the steps right away. Like with my first step, it was kind of funny. We were at this pizza place, we're eating pizza. He starts choking on this slice of pizza. He's starting to turn purple. I'm like, oh my God, is my sponsor about to die in front of me? What's going on here? He spits out this pizza, looks right up at me, and he goes like, well, Jacob, I haven't hit my pizza bottom yet, and continues eating the pizza. And it was like in that moment where it kind of like all clicked for me, right? That for an alcoholic like he and I, we'll go to the bitter end. Like we'll be on the brink of death, almost die, and go right back to it unless we're willing to do something about it. And I know this is a YPAA meeting, so I'm going to kind of tie in everything with YPAA now, because I was like a hot, I don't know, maybe 30 days sober when I went to my first young people's meeting. It was for the 772 bid for FCYPAA at the time. I went to a stranger's house. I had no idea where I was going. Like some girl was talking about it at a meeting. She was like, yeah, it's a great way to do service. I was like, oh, well, everyone keeps saying that I need to do service if I want to stay sober, so I guess I should go do that. So I went to this meeting. Like it was really awkward and uncomfortable, because like I'm showing up to this person's house, no idea who it is, never met him, just kind of like walk in like, hi guys. And in that I got to meet some cool people though. And like that first bid that I was a part of was just so awesome. I learned so much being a part of this bid, and having no idea what I'm bidding for. I've never been to a conference, like no idea. Like I had talked to my dad. He was a part of YPAA back in like the 80s. And he was like, oh, Jacob, you got to do it, man. Like it's fun. Like this is where you learn how to live life, or like live a life outside of AA and work. Cause like my biggest fear, like, cause I went like a good 10 years knowing it's like, man, I think I'm an alcoholic and I should be in meetings, but it's just like, what am I going to do for fun? And at the end, it's like no fun. Right. But, like I learned how to have fun, man. Like we would go out all the time, like go across the state of Florida to go do random events and like road trip it. Like Nims was talking about, like over the last couple of years, riding with him, up to Jacksonville, a 4 or 5 hour drive, just chatting it up, going from everything from like different spiritual experiences, different life situations, then just BS and telling war stories. And it's just like, it's such a great experience. And I learned how to be a part of a group and a part of a committee, and like how to have a responsibility. Like I never thought I'd be the type of guy that people would trust their money with. And I was a treasurer for a little bit for one of our previous bids. Like, to be cool to be trusted with money, because like I don't think anyone would ever trust me with money. When I was still when I before I got sober, right? And and just like made a lot of really great friends along the way. And like what I really found, like just like true genuine friends, right? Like I had acquaintances all my life, like people I could talk to, or like it's like, hey, what are you doing tonight? Oh, I don't know, I think I'm taking it easy. All right, call me next week. Like if you want to go out on a weekend type deal, right? But like having true genuine friends that like reach out and check in on me. And especially over this last year, just a lot of trials and tribulations. I lost my grandmother and my aunt, both passed away within a couple months of each other, and it was a lot of my friends from YPAA that were checking in on me and making sure that I was good, and trying to get me out of my funk, and also to be a part of such a big committee, like having responsibilities where it's just like I have something to do, right? Like I have a responsibility, and God's given me the ability to be a part of a group and to be able to do things for others. And it's just a lot of other great experiences. I one of my previous roommates I met through YPON, and like to be able to like live in a house where like my parents could stop by and I wouldn't have to take a day to clean the apartment beforehand, like having like responsible roommates and such. Um, as well as yeah, just being able to go do fun stuff. And that's like the biggest thing. Like I know this is a lot of new people here, and like the fun doesn't have to end. The party's not over. It's just getting started. And now it's like true enjoyment and a lot of like actual fun that you get to remember the next day, and a lot of great memories along the way. And it's just well worth it, to give this way of life a fair shot, and it's something that I didn't want to do for the longest time. And it's like the greatest thing that I never wanted to do, to quote one of my friends. And, like the biggest thing is to like have a purpose in my life today. And that's to be able to be of service to others, help others along the way. And like, I never thought I'd be the guy that's like cheering on everyone in the beginning, like seeing all the people with like the low amount of time. Like, it's just so cool to see people like coming to this way of life and seeing that like there's a way out, that you don't have to keep doing the things that you've been doing. And that's why I also think it's like vitally important why I introduced myself as a recovered alcoholic, because some of y'all may still be crawling in your skin. Like it's not going to be like that forever. And with all that being said, my time's wrapping up. I'm starting to lose my train of thought. So that's all I got to say about that. Aren't you glad?